Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the very first session at the Security Investors Conference 2021. Today's town hall session is on the topic cybersecurity. Will global investors bet their millions? A post-COVID outlook. Now, for this session, we have with us today one of the foremost investors in cybersecurity, Mr. Asheem Chandana from GreyLock Partners. And in discussion with Mr. Chandana, we have Mr. Prayank Swaroop from Accel Partners India. Mr. Swaroop, may I please request you to come on stage and start the discussion?
Hey Ashim, hi. Nice to have you. It's my pleasure to have you. You're joining us all the way from the Valley for our conference. So, amazing. Thanks for taking out time for us. Let me just.
For having me. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So guys, I would love to just introduce myself and then we'll get on to the session. So I'm Prayank. I'm a partner here at Accel in India. We're an early stage fund. We are investing out of a $550 million fund in India. We do very early stage investments, $500,000 to $10 million checks in seed, pre-seed, Series A companies. And the relevance, why am I here, right? So in the last 1 year, we have invested in 2 cybersecurity companies in India, SecureDen and Project Discovery, .io. So those 2. And globally, Accel has done close to 20 odd investments in the last 7-8 years in cybersecurity. In the Valley, we are known for being investors in CrowdStrike, in FireEye, in Tenable Networks, and one more IPO, ForceScout. So some of those. But today we are not here for me. We are here for Asheem. Asheem is one of the top investors in the Valley in cybersecurity. And, he has been on the Midas list, of for the last, close to a decade now. So, for those of you who don't know, Midas list is considered the list for all investors. I think all venture capitalists aspire to be on that list. So, and then Asheem has been investing for close to 2 decades in cybersecurity and startups. He has served on board of 20 plus companies. He has had 15 plus exits. But most importantly, he has had 3 IPOs in cybersecurity. So Palo Alto Networks, which I think everybody knows here, if you are a cybersecurity company anywhere in the world, in any nook or cranny, you'll know about them. It's a $35 billion company. And it's a very interesting story. I'll let Asheem talk about it later on, because he was involved with them very, very early on. And then he took 2 other companies, Imperva and SourceFire IPO. So thank you, Asheem. Thanks for having us here. And thanks for being here. And I would love to talk a little bit about GreyLock, because not a lot of people in India know about GreyLock. So
yeah, thanks so much, Prayank, and thanks for the generous introduction. Thanks for having me. Privileged to be here and chat together. So I'm Asheem Chandana. I'm a partner at GreyLock. Just to add in GreyLock, GreyLock is one of the oldest venture firms in the world. Actually got started in 1965, and many of the elements of venture that are very commonplace today were actually, put into place by this venture firm, including, what's commonplace today, things like the general partner, limited partner agreement, and, just other mechanics of how funds actually, work with investors as partners. So today, we're basically, we invest out of $1 billion funds. We're investing out of a fund called GreyLock 16, and we invest pretty broadly across both consumer and enterprise. The majority of our work is done early stage. Early stage being seed, Series A's, Series B's, but we do invest across stages of companies. So including growth stage rounds, and occasionally we also invest in public stocks. And then, the bulk of our investment team, actually all of our investment team is based in the Bay Area, so in Silicon Valley. And, just given the opportunity set around the Bay Area, we do invest very heavily in the Bay Area, but in addition to that, we do invest everywhere around the world. we have done some investments in India too over the years, and we do continually talk to entrepreneurs from India. And then just with COVID in particular, I think for most venture firms, including for us, just most of these conversations are going on Zoom nowadays. So in that sense, it doesn't really matter, where the other party is. So we find ourselves in any given week, talking to folks, not just around the US, but often folks around the world.
Awesome. And this is great to hear. I mean, it's great that you're looking at even in startups in India to invest in. So that's amazing. Would love to have GreyLock invest in more Indian startups.
I hope to find some things to partner on together. Yeah.
Definitely. But actually, very interesting. You are from India, right? So
That's
I just
right.
wanted to, could you talk us a little bit about your heritage? Some interesting bits. That'd be great.
Sure. Yeah. I grew up in India. I grew up in Bombay, and I lived in India all the way through grade 11. And then I came to Windsor, Ontario, in Canada, finished my high school there, and then continued on to college in the U.S. And then continued on working here in the U.S. But I did grow up in Bombay. I went to Cathedral School in Bombay, and then I went to Jain College for a year. And so I'd say really, my parents live in Bangalore today. Pre-COVID, I'm usually in India at least once a year, some years twice a year. And, I always come to Bangalore and then often try to go to Bombay as well. Have lots of friends and, family in India.
Oh, that's great. That's great. You're maintaining that relationship with in India, and when you are next time here, and hopefully when all of this is over, would catch you up, and hopefully have like high tea with all the startups here as well. So looking forward to that. So so Ashim, you just mentioned about COVID. So how has your perspective of investing in cybersecurity, or in generally in the Valley, what has changed in investments in cybersecurity? How are because a lot of our attendees are cybersecurity startups. Just what do you think of that?
Yeah, so I would say a couple of things. One is I would say, so cybersecurity is a wonderful area because it's a little bit of a cat and a mouse kind of game, and so it always attracts a certain type of engineer and invites it kind of attracts engineers who kind of want to go and build a better mousetrap, if you will. And it's kind of never ending, both in terms of the problem side and also on the solution side. It's also a wonderful area, for startups to work in, because it's one area of information technology where, large companies will buy from new startups, right? So if you look at many areas of information technology, it's actually not easy to break in, especially with larger customers. But cyber is an area where, the customers understand the next great mousetrap is likely to come, from 2 or 3 unknown engineers, and those engineers, could be sitting in the U.S., they could be sitting in Israel, they could be sitting in India, right? So it's just a wonderful area from that perspective where you can, build a better mousetrap, and you can kind of, approach a very large company, and they actually will take a meeting, and then after the meeting, they'll try your product, and if it works, they'll actually buy from you, while you're an unknown vendor or unknown company. I think with COVID, right, a couple of things have changed, right? So one is basically, I think the fact that the business can be started and built anywhere, right? So that's kind of becoming, COVID's kind of accelerated that. It's accelerated remote work, accelerated remote teams. I think on the customer side, what it's clearly changed is, the perimeter has, I like to say the perimeter has gone up and it's gone out, right? So it's gone up in the sense that it's gone up into the cloud, right? So for most organizations, the perimeter has gone up and gone up into the cloud. And that journey continues. COVID's accelerated the perimeter going up. The other thing that COVID has added is it's added the perimeter going out, right? So it's gone out from the office and gone out from the cloud, and it's gone out into every one of our homes, right? Or wherever one may be sitting, right? The home, the coffee shop, right? So today, Prayank's sitting, I think you're sitting in your house, Prayank, I'm sitting in my house in the Bay Area. But, our work perimeters for our work organizations have actually gone into our homes now, and into our devices in our homes, and into our networks in our homes. And that's an extraordinary challenge, for people to face. I mean, just securing the more traditional perimeter is a challenge by itself. But, today, if either of us are chief information security officers we're tasked with, handling security for our organizations. I mean, that's an extra, it just adds a lot of complexity to the challenge.
So one question, and this is something which I've been thinking about, COVID was a massive disruption. Nobody thought about it. So I'm unsure if a lot of startups are already planning for something like this. They were not, right? So as a VC, are you expecting suddenly a large number of startups to come up to you and say, hey, I've created this product because of COVID? Are you seeing that? Is there very cutting edge innovation happening right now? Or there's a lag time, right? People observe, okay, these are the problems coming up. And so we create. So when do you think, what should a startup do, right? They should immediately jump in and create solutions, or should they wait and see the patterns and then develop those products slightly later? Which is the better idea?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say overall, one of my learnings in venture over the last couple of decades is that market timing is important. And so, either you want to, and I'm oversimplifying this, but either one wants to be in a very large existing market, in which case there's really no market risk, but you have to figure out how to take on the incumbents, and for example, like when Palo Alto Networks started in 2005, the firewall market was a multi-billion-dollar market already. And you could have argued, did the world even need another firewall vendor at the time, right? So there was no market risk. The challenge for that company really was basically, when you come into market, how are you going to insert and how are you going to compete, with existing players, that's Cisco or Juniper Networks or Checkpoint Software or Fortinet, at the time, those were the, primary incumbents. And then I contrast that with, like, for example, I was involved in a company called Sky High Networks. Sky High started in 2012. They were very early entrant in the cloud security market. They became synonymous with the term CASB, which is quite well known today, Cloud Access Security Broker. So when Sky High started, the original concept, and we were fortunate to be a Series A investor there as well, right? It was just a few slides and the team, you're talking to the team, and it was really envisioning, hey, the world is going to go into the cloud, people are going to use more SaaS applications, and these types of function sets may be needed, right? And they were kind of early in that, and early adopter customers were kind of, their customers. So I think either you want to go to a large existing market, and there you really need to be very, very differentiated, and you need to have what I call an insertion strategy. How do you insert, right? And for example, even coming back to Palo Alto Networks for a second, when they inserted early on, when they came to market in 2006, 2007 now, they could not go to large customers and say, replace your firewall. They would have been shown the door immediately, right? Yeah. So what they basically said is, hey, put us behind your existing firewall or put us alongside and let us show you one or two new function sets, which we can do a little bit better. And then over the time, they usurp the firewall, if you will, right? So there you insert, over the new market, you basically got to, there you're taking some market risk. And as long as your timing is not too early, then you have the opportunity to kind of ride the wave and become the front runner. And so I think back to COVID, I think there is an opportunity today just in terms of, workforces are becoming distributed, people are working from home. So the architecture is fundamentally changing in terms of what you need to protect, and that will require new solutions. And I think that's a wonderful opportunity, for cyber entrepreneurs.
Actually, one question, very interestingly, the point you mentioned that Palo Alto Networks started with few function sets, and then this was the insertion point, right? So most cybersecurity companies start off, there are two flavors, start off with either a very niche product, or they start off with trying to create a platform from day one, right? And which, again, might be very open-ended, which is the better approach? Have you seen niche better or platform better?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say it's hard to build a large company if you don't have a platform concept, because at the end of the day, once you get a growing set of customers for a business, if you really want to accelerate your business and you want to build a world-class business, you have to be able to go back to the existing customer and sell them something additional, right? So it's very hard to kind of have a one-trick pony and then kind of just, run that into something that's a very, very large franchise. Right, you can get to be a public company with kind of one piece, but then you want a growing, wonderful public business that's going to go across decades, right? Yeah, so I would say like, you have to start doing one thing really, really well because you have to earn the customer business that way. But then, the best businesses, they kind of have an act 2, act 3. And sometimes these businesses begin with platform concepts and you sell one module on a platform, you kind of grow that way. And then early in your life cycle, you can put in multiple modules. Other times you start with one area, and then, you get a set of customers, and then you quickly pick up an act 2, which is something adjacent. And then more time you'll pick an act 3. But you have to do, like, I think startups are all about focus, precision, doing one thing really, really well, doing it better than anybody else. And by the cyber, like in particular, you have to it's all about the better mousetrap. It's all about doing something at a world-class level, doing it better than anybody else.
So one question I have for you is, in the valley, you're sitting in the valley, and there's just like thousands of cybersecurity companies which come to you all the time, right? And what I know is GreyLock does only a handful of investments every year. Unlike some other VCs which do 40, 50, 60 companies, you guys don't do that many. So how do you choose a few, and what are you looking for?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we'll start off by just saying it's very, very hard, and one makes a lot of mistakes, and I've certainly made a lot of mistakes over the years. So it's fundamentally, I would say, it's a people business, and so what one is really looking for is one aspires to work with people of the highest caliber, and sometimes, or actually in most cases, these are first-time entrepreneurs, which makes it even more difficult to kind of mutually discern each other, right? Because there's limited information, and sometimes these are entrepreneurs who've got a track record of already having built something of significance, already being in the domain. So quite frankly, the second type of decision is easier. Because if you see someone, they built something of significance, they're in the domain, they have some privileged insights in that domain, and then they kind of come to you, and you're lucky enough to have that meeting. If you quickly go check a bunch of things out, I think it's really the first-time entrepreneur that's much harder. And what one's really looking for there is, I think, really high precision. It's the quality of the communication.
Yeah.
So really high precision thinking. Kind of an understanding of the problem set, some unique insight, some thoughts on, how one can build something differentiated. One's always looking for humility, someone who has a learning mindset. I personally believe that innovation comes from within the building, if you will, or from within the engineering team. But you want to really couple that with, customer centricity and, an understanding of the customer problem and just a deep passion to solve. So it's hard. I mean, the headline is it's hard, but one is basically trying to, with one meeting, right, try to kind of quickly, figure some of these things out, and then some set of these, we kind of take them into quick follow-on conversations. We make decisions very, very quickly, especially in this environment. But one is looking for things that are worth solving and for people that are, very mission-oriented and have high precision, around themselves.
One question. So cybersecurity is fundamentally, actually, in a way, deep tech, right? A good cybersecurity company has to have some sort of deep technology, deep understanding or new technology they're kind of building, right? So what is the skill set do you look for in the founder, in the sense that, I'm assuming the core founding team needs to have technology background, or at least somebody in the core founding team. So is that true? And then two is, given US, given the noise in the space, thousands and thousands of startups, do you look for a go-to-market or early-stage business development experience as well in the team, or is it okay to just be technologists and figure out go-to-market as you go along?
Yeah, I'd say starting with the go-to-market piece first. Generally, like when we're funding companies, and the bulk of our business is early-stage investing. And, we're usually, and often we're starting with just one or two or three people in the company as well. And so those are typically, engineers, right? They're often not very senior engineers as well. Though, of course, sometimes we back prior CEOs and, prior, let's say, heads of engineering or, senior architects. But the most common scenario is, we're funding very passionate engineers that have worked in a particular product area, and maybe a couple of engineers. So, we typically make these investments, there's no financials in the deck. and there's I would say very limited go-to-market understanding in the founding team. So we really work with the engineers to help them kind of hone their idea further, help them recruit additional engineers, start building a product, continually testing that product during product development. The most successful companies I've been involved with, they typically will talk to between 50 and 100 customers while they're developing the initial product, right? So there's less chances of being surprised. And then as the product comes closer to market for release 1.0, help them hire the initial VP of marketing or the head of marketing, early salespeople, the head of sales. Sometimes somebody in the original technology team will continue as the CEO of the company. Sometimes they don't want to do that, in which case we'll help them recruit a CEO as well.
Yeah. Actually, one question. So specifically, since our audience is Indian cybersecurity startups, right? And most of the Indian cybersecurity startups have been trying to crack the US market.
Yes.
Typically, like you said, it's good to hear that you're backing early engineers, and because but unfortunately, the cybersecurity startups in India, typically they don't have, let's say, somebody from security of Facebook or security of Google or Palo Alto Networks for that matter. So, and then the second part is that, India is also not known necessarily like Israel, the great companies. I mean, we are getting there, but so what advice you would give to, an Indian cybersecurity startup? Because you said talk to 50 to 100 customers. So how do they get that trust of customers abroad, and how do they get the trust of investors like yourself if they were to raise money?
Yeah, so it's great. So maybe I'll add a few thoughts, right? So the first thing is I would say, and I think this is true in any product area one's in, but I think this is especially true in cybersecurity. It's very important to understand how what you're doing fits relative to other things that are out there. Because if you're an entrepreneur in India and you're calling on me and I'm a customer in a large organization, I'm very interested to understand what you're working on, but I have to understand what you're working on and what you're presenting me with in context of what I already have. And because then, it either fits relative to what I have or it doesn't, right? I don't make the decision in isolation. And a lot of people don't understand this, right? So I'd say that's one point, just for if I was starting a cybersecurity company in India, the first thing I would do is I would try to get some understanding and appreciation of the immediate landscape that I'm in and related products that the customer may have, and how do I fit in with those existing products? And is it just a rip and replace, or can I go in and augment, or can I sit alongside? Can I already go in and enhance the value of what somebody has? That might be an easy journey to getting into somebody's network or into somebody's environment, and then over time I can expand my footprint. So again, some subtlety and nuance about what I'm saying, but I do believe sincerely it's a very, very important point, for people to think about. I'd say the next piece is just, okay, I'm sitting in India, how do I then progress from there, right?
Yeah.
So a couple of thoughts, right? So one is in terms of finding customers, right? And this is true for US-based companies as well. A lot of the entrepreneurs, we work with here, and for ourselves as well, we find a lot of customers through LinkedIn today, right? And there's a difference between spamming somebody and sending somebody, let's say, a very thoughtfully written text or very thoughtfully written message on LinkedIn. So if you're a customer today, you're sitting in the US, I'm an entrepreneur in India, I could send you a very thoughtfully written message saying, hey, Prayank, I really like your background on LinkedIn. Looks like you know a lot about this particular area. You're sitting at ABC company. I'm working in this particular area. I've got some new ideas. And I would really value if you'd be able to spend 20 minutes with me on, over video or over the phone. And, I'd love to give you your thoughts and your advice. So it's not a selling conversation. Of course, everybody's always selling, but it's like, it's more a consultative conversation. And I think if you send 3 of those out on LinkedIn, carefully written, I would say out of India, it's very likely at least you're going to get one of those, somebody will reply back and offer you 20 minutes of their time. So I think you can really, you can do that. And then I just had maybe a couple other quick thoughts, right? So now on the go-to-market, I think there are 2 opportunities, right? So one is really, if it's product-led selling or product-led, growth, right? Where basically you put up a website, and then either it's a SaaS offering of the website or the download of the website, and you're really driving marketing, you're using marketing to drive into the website, and then the experience all flows off the website. in that sense, today, it doesn't matter whether you're sitting in India or you're sitting anywhere else. Right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a completely equal playing field, or it's becoming more and more equal today, and that's an extraordinary opportunity, for entrepreneurs in India. That's the first piece. I think the next piece is if it is enterprise go-to-market, and you need to hire salespeople and have these salespeople call on the customer, I think there it's not completely equal, right? Because obviously the in-person, then you need in-person people close to major customers. And a big part of the worldwide IT market sits in the United States and in EMEA, right, in those two geos. But that said, the selling is changing, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, I do write for Forbes periodically. If anybody is interested in this, they could go to just go type my name, Forbes Chandana. You'll see I wrote a blog titled "The Future of Selling," and I think selling is changing. Selling is becoming more digital. Today, if you're a customer sitting in New York City, if I'm a salesperson in New York City, 3 years ago, more of my selling was in person. Today, I'm actually working in hybrid mode with you. So in that sense, I could be sitting in Bangalore or in Bombay or in New Delhi. There is a time zone difference, but I could be over video talking to a customer anywhere in the world.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ashim. And just to add to what you said to our audience, right? So as an Indian VC, the pattern which we have used is, at least for VC funded startups, we just tell our CEOs to go spend, at least a couple of months, if not quarters, in the valley before they start building the product. So if they are smart guys, we say we are funding you because of your background. Why don't you go go to RSA, go to other Black Hat, go try to network with as many people, and just like you said, talk to 50 to 100 customers, write down what they say, shape up your ideology, and then come back. Because you have VC money. I know it might be harder for non-funded startups, but that is one thing which has worked out, at least for some of our companies. And two, for example, I invest in Project Discovery. They are open source cyber DevSecOps company, and you just see the validation on how many people are liking them on GitHub, and how many people are forking, and so that's a very even before investing, we get that signal that okay, this company is able to do that. So at least, just an aside, those are two new patterns which has worked for us. So Ashim, then my last question to you: how does one raise $10 million from Ashim on the first meeting without prior contact? Which are those categories which you see will do exceptionally well in the next 5 years, let's say, where entrepreneurs should be building products now, from your vantage point?
Yeah, so I would say cybersecurity follows information technology. So if anyone wants to understand what the future of cyber is, one way to think about it is, if you know what future IT architectures are going to look like, you can almost envision cyber as a wrapper around that, or as kind of a complement to that, right? So today, information technology is moving into the cloud, it's moving into SaaS, it's getting more distributed. Right, and so this is going to require new cybersecurity architectures, right? So clearly anything around cloud security is going to be important. I personally believe one of the biggest challenges around cloud is data privacy and data security. So I think that's you're going to see many new offerings protecting data in the cloud, right? I think customers want to work in a multi-cloud environment. They want to work in hybrid environments, on-prem with a cloud. So you're really going to look at architectures that kind of go across these, right? Both for cloud, for SaaS, for data. So that's kind of one wonderful kind of opportunity set. I think another opportunity set is just distributed workforces, right? So so this is again the perimeter going up, the perimeter going out. How do you kind of help organizations where people are working everywhere? Collaboration is going to be more distributed. How do you put the right layers of security around that? I think 5G, we're in the cusp of 5G, right? And 5G is going to change network architectures, right? So how do people kind of bring security out into that? Think about cars, right? So if we're on this call 5 years from now and 10 years from now, the experiences in cars is going to completely change, right? And people are going to sit in cars and they're going to be interacting in cars with much richer experiences than they do today. What's going to be the security opportunity, for that? I think if you look at machine learning, data security, machine learning, data science, right, statistical techniques. I think cyber is going to completely change, right? Basically, the application of machine learning, data science, being applied to rich data sets. I think that's a wonderful opportunity, right? I mean, for entrepreneurs in India, right, coming out of world-class universities in India, take cutting-edge machine learning technologies, take everything that's available on the cloud, take that, apply that to rich data sets, right, and kind of bring new offerings to market. I think security analytics, just continuing on that, that's a very, very large bucket. There's almost like unlimited opportunity kind of in that area, right, to build new offerings. And then Prayank, you touched earlier around open source security, and I'll extend that into developer security, right? So basically, the growing set of developers, in the world, and kind of every organization today, right? I mean, every large and mid-sized customer, they want to be more agile, they want to be more competitive. What most enterprises want to do, right, is they want to bring new custom software to market quickly for competitive advantage. Yet they want that software to be secure, right? Yeah. So they want to be more agile, bring the software to market quicker, yet they want more security. This is kind of like a macro challenge, and it's just kind of filled with opportunity, right? For cyber. And again, if you're on this video 5 years from now, there'll be many new companies that'll be providing kind of layers of technology that allow companies offerings out on the cloud, but yet bring that out in a secure way. So there's just, I'd say the nice thing about cyber is there's just so many new opportunity sets. But I think just think about where information technology is going broadly, right? And if you can envision where it's going and add that kind of, traverses, cyber kind of, continues as a layer on that.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashim. Very, very deep thoughts. I mean, especially the last one, last few minutes. I could do a PhD research on that and come up. Because that's what we're really building. We're rebuilding future, and we're looking as investors to invest in the future, right? So thanks for that, and thanks for spending time with us today. Thanks a lot. Any just last parting words from your side for the Indian startups in cybersecurity?
Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me, Prayank. It's a privilege and pleasure to catch up. I think the work you and your colleagues do in India is wonderful. I look forward to kind of finding more companies to partner on together. And I think it's just a wonderful time, I wish I was I wish I was much younger in my career and I was sitting in India and I had software skills. I think literally kind of the world's the oyster for new entrepreneurs in India, right? Because today, sitting in India, you can really target, worldwide markets, with cloud-based offerings, with software as a service, and you can really, kind of stand up these new companies, assemble world-class engineering teams in India. And so, I feel very confident, right? I mean, we're on this video, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, there will be many world-class companies, built out of India, right? Targeting enterprise markets and, targeting cyber in particular. So I think it's just a wonderful time, to be kind of a software entrepreneur sitting in India, cybersecurity as a opportunity area.
Thank you, Ashim. Thanks for talking to us. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, thank you. Bye.